I'm Wendy Desabate from St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I currently live in Miami or wherever my passport lands me. I love supporting others in learning how to live their best lives.
I'm Derek Lumpkins, a Boston-born globetrotter and photographer with the soul of a polyglot.
As lifelong friends, we're constantly talking about history, the arts, missed opportunities, and the road less traveled.
Welcome to Things They Don't Teach Us,
a podcast about life's tips, tricks, and insights.
Hey, Wendy.
Hey, Derek.
How's it going?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite well, and I'm looking forward to today's conversation.
Oh, yes.
This was your brilliant idea, so I'm looking forward to this one.
Some call it actually the Benjamin Button syndrome. Well, I guess that's when you just kind of pause in your aging. And you probably look better now than you did back then. But today's topic is more about aging gracefully and having just wonderful life.
Yeah. But in thinking about today's conversation, I started having this question like, there are these moments where you feel kind of like, oh, I really am getting older. Like you have those moments like, oh, you're getting old when. And I was going to ask, have you ever had those moments? Because for me, I know I'm getting old when I watch movies. So for example, those movies where there's like gangsters or mobsters or, whatever, and they have the little shoot ups or they're beating up people and they're like bloodied or whatever. And then one or two scenes later, they're like totally clean. And I'm like, who's doing the laundry? Seriously, like who's doing the laundry? And I'm like, I'm getting old if I'm thinking about the laundry during this movie. So you ever have a moment like that? You're getting old when?
A few of them. I think most of us over a certain luxurious age can say that you're getting old when the joints start to ache and hurt. For me, I had one recently where I went to a restaurant, in Miami, a very nice restaurant, and I'm sitting there, and the music is like old school hip hop, and not just a little Dougie Fresh. No, we're talking about some DMX stuff. And actually, there's a commercial on TV right now in America where DMX is in the background. That surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
That really surprised me. Like, oh my gosh, I know this song. And this is like not a song I ever thought I'd hear being used in a commercial.
That's so true. Yeah. 90s hip hop is now the background in like restaurants and weddings, commercials. I never really thought about it because I always think of like those old, like, music versions of things that you hear in elevators. Now that's what we grew up listening to.
And when we were young, I can remember my mom telling me like, oh my God, what was that first album I bought myself my babysitting money? It was, I can't remember the name of the album now. I'm getting old. But anyway, and my mom looking at me like, is this what you're spending your money on? And just being like disappointed and like giving me the speech about, this stuff is never going to go anywhere. What's that? It's, oh my God. You know the song. Everybody knows the song. It's the first quote unquote commercial hip hop album. Oh my God. I can't believe I forgot that. The name of that damn thing. I have the album still.
Well, maybe one of our listeners or our viewers will email us later to remind us if you don't remember.
Oh, I'll probably remember during the course of this conversation. Like, light bulb moment.
Okay. But yeah, this I think will be an interesting conversation because we're talking about a couple of things. So you're getting old when you hear the old music, when you feel the aches and pains, when the memory goes, when you start thinking about things that you never would have thought about 20 or 30 years ago. Like again, who's really thinking about laundry when they're watching the movies? So there's so many ways in which people age, and how do we do it gracefully? Are we doing it gracefully? And what does it mean to age gracefully? So many different ways to come at this. So I'm looking forward to hearing what our guest has to say.
I mean, we all hear the little joke about black don't crack, but let me tell you, I've seen some crack that black has cracked. So we know aging gracefully is definitely something that a lot of us wish we did better. Some do it effortlessly, and for some it takes a little bit more work, but it can be done by all.
Effortless. So is it ever really effortless? Really?
Yeah, I mean, okay. My 15-layer skincare regimen might seem a lot of effort to some, but to me, it's effortless. I just do it. It just comes natural. I just do it. I didn't even think about it.
Okay. All right.
But from the
But
outside
technically there
looking
is
in, I
effort. You have to go to the store, get the product, bring the product, put the product on. There is some effort.
true. Okay, true. We could say that. We could say that. Now, I'll be curious how Christine will have to say about things like that. How much effort do you put into it?
Let's find out.
So today's guest is our good friend who actually introduced us, Derek, is Christine Rose. Christine is a resident of Mattapan in Massachusetts. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Boston University and completed her massage therapy training at Cortiva Institute in Watertown in 2011. She's the owner of Imani Massage, established in 2012. Christine is a member of the American Massage Therapy Association, Bethel AME Church, Boston, and Dorchester Food Co-op. Christine serves on the board of the Abraham's Tent and Boston Acupuncture Project. Christine loves to exercise and challenge her body physically. She enjoys volunteering, fundraising, and giving back in any way that she can make a difference in the world. Welcome, Christine.
Hi there. Hello.
Hey, welcome. Good to
Hey.
see you.
Good to be here.
And it was also fun getting those photos from you and putting together the that looped video that we just showed to the audience to see, you aging, not really aging, see the two versions of you over the decades. So
Yeah.
I am always flipping a switch on my hair and now being fully gray, embracing my gray. People are always asking me, is that your natural color? And I'm like, have I colored my hair? I'm like, no, that's the natural.
But the funny thing, I think it makes you look younger.
I agree.
I truly do. I think she looks younger. I mean, yeah, we all have the aging face, but still, I feel like especially if you had a picture between when you were starting your transition to going gray, I truly thought always loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we want to thank you again for joining us, and on this topic of aging gracefully. So there's the two parts: the aging and the gracefully. And why don't we start with the graceful part? I mean, do you have what's your definition of what it means to be aging gracefully?
Oh, for me, it's just really taking self-care, taking care of myself and my well-being, and just giving myself grace, like just allowing it to happen and not trying to portray something different, So for me, what you see is what you're getting, I don't feel that I need to try to do liposuction or some body wraps or something. I just do my best to just accept who I am and just go with it.
So is it just about the acceptance, or are there other aspects to it? Or nutrition, you mentioned self-care, you mentioned sort of accepting certain things. I mean, we break that down into so many different ways.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, for sure, especially since the COVID, during the pandemic, I really did change my eating. I mean, I've never been someone who was always eating fast food, but I just realized that the food, because I wasn't going to the grocery store as often, and I was getting, I was trying to purchase things that would be long lasting. So more fresh vegetables and fruits, root vegetables and things. And so I am not a vegan. I'm not a vegetarian, but I always lean towards that type of meal in these last 15 or so years. And especially during COVID, I think that I was cooking more vegetarian style meats and meals, And I think that is one of the things that I found is so much more important now. And I honestly could taste the difference when I'm eating, when I'm eating foods that are like processed, bag of chips. Like if I'm like, before I would be like, oh, I'm hungry, let me just grab this bag of chips or something. Now I swear to you, it has a funny taste to me. Like, it's not so extreme, but like I can just taste, I feel like the trans fats or whatever it is, the preservatives that makes it.
I never understood that. Even as a kid, I could never understand people who sit there with a bag of potato chips, and I won't call the brand, the little orange triangle thing. That never made sense to me. My mom would buy them because everybody else's kid is eating them. And they'd sit there and go, I'd have like two. I'm like, this is gross. If it doesn't come in nature, the color you can't find in nature, why would you put it in your body?
Yeah.
I don't understand. I still don't understand it.
But I mean, tobacco comes from nature and people put that in their body.
Yeah, but that's but the thing. The coloring comes from nature. You're absolutely right. And tobacco in moderate is not gonna. You're not gonna. It's not gonna kill you. It's a moderation. But you have something that's a neon orange or a neon blue, and you consume it, and not just the. I mean, a taste is okay, but we're talking people will sit there and consume the entire bag and more.
Yeah, but when you brought up, because you're West Indian, I wasn't. We were brought up eating all kinds of different things, and so I'm just saying that from my taste buds have definitely changed from my 20, from the childhood up into my 30s, and then now in my fifth decade, I can definitely I can definitely taste a difference with things, and I'm not happy to put it into my body. And honestly, my body now really recognizes when I do eat something that is not always, but there's certain things I know. So I stopped eating them now because I might get a little like not stomach cramps, but I could just feel like this more of this fullness, this bloating. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't like this. So I really have stopped that. And I also believe with my aging gracefully, like I've always been a fitness person. I ran track in high school. College, I did not, but I was still active doing exercises. And, I did some taekwondo classes and things like this. I've always been somebody who's into movement. And so much more now as becoming a massage therapist, it's part of my total well-being regimen, getting a massage every month, getting my acupuncture every month. And I do Pilates every week, and I do a weight-bearing, a HIIT class, a high-intensity training class once a week. So all these things help keep me feeling pliable, movable, and just really taking care of me. So that's part of how I am continuing to age gracefully.
Now you have like nieces and young people in your space, if you will.
Oh yeah.
Do you see a difference between how they are aging and how you were aging at that age?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, especially nowadays where we have a lot of awareness around fat awareness, body positivity, and so I have, I don't see folks that are really trying to like be on the scale all the time. Like in my family, nobody's like on the scale or like, oh, I'm so this, I'm that. They're more accepting of their outer being. And there's no judgment about that. I also feel that's a good thing. Where I feel they're lacking is the movement. Most of my nieces, since they stopped from high school, are not doing any kind of physical activity, any kind of exercising. At least they're not talking to me about it. Even with my nephew, I only have one nephew out of all of the crew, and he was in the swim team in college. But I think now it's probably because he works so much. And he's a cyclist, so that's probably why his mode of transportation is cycling. So that's probably why he doesn't. I don't hear him talking about going to the gym or anything. But yeah, they're different, and I haven't seen them make the change about foods. Actually, half of them have. Half of them are more during COVID. They just became really more focused on eating or planting, farming, and eating foods from the earth. So,
there was something you said a few minutes ago where you were talking about some of the changes you have undergone from your childhood to your 30s to your fifth decade. And so I was wondering, and this is open to all of us here. Like I was sort of wondering, like, is there a point where you kind of think, your mentality shifts? Like you have a conscious shift in your mentality around aging, because I remember I think it was like either 29 to 30 or 39 to 40. I forget which shift it was. I had friends, women in particular, who were like, I've got to have a baby now. I've got to do this now. Like there was, I don't know if it was a biological drive or if it was just kind of like this societal pressure or, just something internal, like, but there was something where they were really driven to say, okay, I've got to do this now or else. And I feel like I probably had that too. I don't remember exactly what it was, where I was kind of like, okay, if I don't do this now or within the next couple of years, I probably shouldn't or won't be able to do it. And so just kind of wondering, like, was there a point where you you know, all of us here have kind of had that thought. And like, when was it for you?
Yeah, I think it probably was in my 30s. I was thinking my sister had already bought her first house at the age of 25. And I was thinking to myself, I think maybe around 32 or so, like, I probably should buy a house. But I became so comfortable, with the fact that I lived with her for those first 5 years that she had the house. And then I had a partner who I lived with for a couple of years. And then I was like, that's when at the point when I was like, I should probably just buy a house. And I had the opportunity to move back in with her for a short period. And then she told me, it's time for you to move out. I was enjoying my space. And so I started thinking about it, taking classes. And then I started thinking, maybe I don't have enough money. So then I became more focused on how much money what my salary was at that point. And I was still working. No, I was the executive director of a not-for-profit agency at that point. And I wasn't really excited about the job any longer. I was in my second year. And so I think for me, it wasn't so much about the children aspect, because I have so many young ones in my life, nieces and nephews and godchildren, that I decided I did want children, but at the point I wasn't dating anyone. So I felt like that was never anything that was like, I got to have a baby by such and such time. It was really about the financial means and the home ownership between 32 and 38, I'd say. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are many transition points with us in our lives, and some people. It's funny. I have friends who aged gracefully and matured, and also were able to accomplish certain tasks like having a family or home ownership or financial independence. Then I have a few friends who they're still 12. Or we left high school at 17, and they are still that age. I mean, you talk to them, it's like, yo, dude, and it's like, wait, what happened? You want to ask them, like, what's going on with you? And they're perfectly happy with that. But the funny thing is, the one person I can think of who has that sort of he still lives at home. He's still, I mean, not that that's a bad thing. Not to say that's living at home is a bad thing, but, he's still pretty much where I left him. He looks great. He looks fabulous, but he also has no stresses in his life. He's happy with where he is. And I think that's part of the thing with it. Happiness. He's very happy.
So would you say he is aging gracefully then?
Oh, yeah. Physically, at least. Physically, he's aging gracefully and aging wonderfully, but I don't know about the rest of it because, again, he's just happy with where he is in his life. And for some of us, having financial independence, a home and family are more important. For him, it was just like, you know what? Mm-hmm. My needs are met.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you that the happiness aspect is quite important, because if you are not a happy person in general, you're probably just not going to take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and you're not happy. You're already emotionally not doing well, and you may resort to certain things to cope with the unhappiness that then end up deteriorating your health or deteriorating your well-being or even deteriorating the connections you have with other people. So like that can cause some disruption to aging gracefully. Of course, I'm not a doctor. I can't speak with this medically, but just in terms of my observations and my own personal beliefs, like that, I think would be an interruption in terms of aging gracefully. I mean, for me, it really is about the happiness, but also for me personally, it's about freedom, the freedom to choose, the freedom to make decisions without, other people impinging upon you or imposing themselves upon you. And when I think about aging gracefully, I'm thinking about some of these people like Spike Lee, who's now in his 70s. Granted, he's a multimillionaire, not more so, but he just gets to dress really dapper. He gets to go to these things that he either creates or that he's invited to. He gets to enjoy life to the fullest. And I think about these usually the older men, probably older women too, who just wear these amazing outfits that when I was younger, I'd be like, what is that? But now that I'm in this middle age, I'm kind of like, yeah, I kind of want to be able to do that too. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off, but I like the idea of being able to be, that a little bit more risk taker with what I do and how I present myself to the world. I shouldn't have to wait until another 20, 30 years, but I kind of feel like I haven't earned it yet.
And Derek, I also feel that it's because we have more self-confidence, and it's like, I mean, you know, you've experienced things. You're not trying to please other folks. You're really just about, I think this looks good on me, and I feel confident enough to wear it, you know? So I think that's part of aging gracefully too. It's just that self-confidence that you've you've built and created over the years because of all of your life experiences, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's real self-confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You had a question, Wendy?
Yeah, I was going to ask Christine, so when you decided to transition into the silver fox that you are, was there pushback from other people like, no, you shouldn't do that?
Oh, no, not at all. And you know what when that moment occurred was approximately 10 years ago, 9 years ago. I was actually training for a sprint triathlon. Mm-hmm. So I was swimming in a swimming pool, and because I was coloring my hair, because I am chemically relaxed in my hair, my sister, who's a hairdresser, said, Christine, you know, you probably should just let your hair go gray because you're swimming, even though you're wearing this bathing cap, you know, it doesn't make sense for you to keep coloring your hair right now. So I said, yeah, you know what? She's right. Because the training was over a period of 4.5 months. And so I decided, I hated the way every time I put the swimming cap on, my hair was fairly long, like almost my shoulders.
Yeah.
It really tugged at my hair. So I said, you know what, just cut it. So I did that kind of in between look there where I had like about this much gray hair and like the length of the long hair was too dramatic. So I just cut my hair into a low afro and I went with it. And everybody was like, oh my God, you look so great. This is great. I love your hair. I love the length. I love the color. So after that, it was summertime anyway. I was like, it's on. I should have sent you one of those pictures with my hair like this show. My cousin told me that I look like how I was as a little girl. She said, I can see you, except you're gray. You look just the same as when you were 8 years old.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That is
I gotta say,
awesome.
I'm a little jealous. Like, I wish I could become a silver fox. I know I will never get there, but I wish I could. I would love to see myself with like white hair. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah. See, whereas on my side, we don't go gray very quickly. I have an aunt who is gotta be Barbie's gotta be 80. Yes, and her name is Barbie. It's gotta be 85, and she doesn't have one gray hair. Wow. But another aunt that's Edna's got to be in her late 70s because she won't tell us how old she is. And she's like a salt and pepper, but it's definitely more pepper than salt. And my uncle, same thing. He just has the temples, and the rest of it's all like a brownish color, which is what his natural color is. But yeah, my mom even asked me one time. I told my mother to stop coloring her hair because I thought it would make her the same thing. Just stop it. And then she looks at me. She goes, I'll stop coloring mine when you stop coloring yours. And I was like, I don't color my hair. You just seen the affection. Like, she's grabbed my head and she's looking through my roots. I'm like, I haven't colored my hair in I don't know how many years.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I don't care. I'll embrace it. I do have some silver, but it's not. It'll be a good 20 years before it's really noticeable. Mm-hmm. I follow the pattern of my aunts.
But then you won't tell us your age as you get older either.
Well, a girl has to keep some mystery. Come on now.
Oh, okay. So, Christina, as you're working, I don't know, do you work with younger people in the massage industry or in the hair care industry? Like, do you work with younger people?
I mean, I'm around. Yes, definitely. I'm on the other end. So yeah, there are definitely folks that are in their 30s or late 20s. Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so, are they asking you questions around, maybe not specifically around aging gracefully, but like, you know, tips that they could pick up from you in terms of like, oh, I like this about you. What would you recommend? Or do you look at them and say, maybe you should do this, maybe you shouldn't do that? Like, do you have those exchanges with them?
Not really. I think because of my personality, just being so happy and just very positive, you know, being a massage therapist, it really has really built that as a stronger type of personality within me. I mean, I've always been a very happy person anyhow, but I feel the energy that I exude comes out and people just see it, and they will ask me questions like, why are you like what makes you so happy? And I'm just like, life is too short. I just have nothing. I don't want to dwell on any of the negativity. So I really try to keep the positivity away. When I was in massage school, I just remember one of the things that we learned in our ethics classes about boundaries and transference and just knowing how to, establish boundaries. And this was something that was very new to me. But the instructor said, if it helps you, just think of yourself that you're in a glass bubble or a plastic bubble and choose a color for that bubble. And just imagine that nothing can penetrate that bubble unless you allow it. And you can't put anything outside of that bubble unless you allow it. And I was like, oh, wow. So I love purple. I just chose an iridescent because I couldn't see some solid bubble. I felt like I needed to see out. So I just chose that iridescent color. And from there, I just always think that. I'm like, you can be as negative as you want, but it doesn't bother me. Even my boyfriend, my partner is like, it amazes him that I can just let things roll off my back and let it go if somebody does something to offend me. And he always says, I think I could count on one hand, possibly two hands, the number of times that I've seen Christine angry or upset by something that has occurred with another as an exchange with someone. So, yeah.
That is definitely a skill. What about Derek? Do you have anything else to add to this? Or
I was just going to add, like, so, but okay, so you do get angry. So how do you deal? And also, like, when I think of older people, I feel like they have earned the right to say what they need to say. So, like, as an older person, yeah, you may let things roll off your back. But if you're like, you know what? I have reached this age. I have this many decades of wisdom. Let me tell you something. Like, do you ever get to that point? And if so, what do you do?
I don't like, not in an angry state. If I get angry about something, I'm a conflict avoider. I'll usually just shut down. And I can't even think of an instance at this moment, but I probably will just remove myself from the situation. Just say, you know what, I got to go. I can't talk anymore, or whatever it is. But what I will tell younger folks as advice, though, is really, not to hold on to anything. Hear what somebody has to say. And sometimes you have to shut up and listen before you can be heard. So I'm not saying that you can't, express yourself, but you need to listen to the other person first. And this is at all ages, at like whoever you're having this dialogue with. And then if you are being respectful in that way of listening, prayerfully, that person will do the same when you want to say what you need to say. And then you could just say to yourself, okay, I heard what they said. I'll process that and I'll choose what I want to take from that conversation. That's what I usually will encourage, especially the employees at the salon. When I used to work there as the manager, I would explain that to them all the time. And like with their it's usually with a coworker kind of situation, or on occasion it's been with my sister as a boss. I'm like, listen, she's the boss and she knows. She's been in the industry over 20 years. She knows what she's talking about. So I know you have a technique or you were taught this way, but just take a moment and review what she said.
Very good wisdom. Mm-hmm. Shut up and listen, and then you'll be heard. Yeah. In this wonderful world that we live in, Christine, what do you wish you had been taught?
Just eating better, just really just about eating and understanding. And even though my grandpa was a farmer, and during my teenage years, we would be home every summer and we would have to work the land with him for those first 2 hours in the morning before we could go to the beach. So I think just really understanding the value, like understanding that importance of the food and not, eating all of those processed things. I mean, I think to me, that's probably more in my 20s. I wish I realized that in my 20s and 30s. I really feel like that would have been more impactful and helpful during this point. Well, I mean, I learned it now, but it's taking more time. Yeah. And
Did I miss something? Like, I thought you were from Dorchester. Like, where'd you grow up, on a farm and then going to the beach?
No, I was born in the South Coast, Massachusetts. So Rochester, Massachusetts, which is a landlocked community, and it's really just farming, cranberry bogs, and campgrounds. It's near Wareham, New Bedford, Marion, Mattapoisett. So yeah, I'm of Cape Verdean descent. So I'm a third born American, third generation American born, so my ancestors came from Cape Verde. My great-great-grandfather was a whaler, and he settled in Rochester after he had his fortune and brought his daughters over, my great-grandmother and my grandpa. So both sides of my family were born here, the grandparents, but there was the great-grands that were born abroad. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And I have a theory that if we still had farming in our society and people will have to spend like their early years on farms, we probably have less drama and strife and conflict. Because when you, as you both know, when you have to work at the garden, you got to get up as soon as the sun wakes up, and you pretty much by the end of the day, you're so tired from doing the work, you don't have time to sit there and worry about who's wearing what's going on with someone else's life. You're too busy trying to just survive.
True.
And when you have all that free time sitting there playing Grand Theft Auto, whatever the kids are playing these days, and looking online to see whatever so and so is wearing and who has the latest purse, that just builds unhappiness. Mm-hmm. I was just so happy that we had some flowers and we grew our own purse. Like, look at that! Look at the tomato that I grew. That made me happy.
Mm-hmm. But I hear what you're saying, but I also think we have to be careful not to romanticize the countryside farm life because that's hard work. Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
And I remember last summer, so I was in Barcelona last summer, and something about water restrictions or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but the farmers from all over the region drove their tractors into the city of Barcelona and just parked them in the main streets. And so you would just see miles and miles and miles and miles of tractors on the main roads because that was their protest, because they were like, whatever the restriction was, something, they were like, you need to do better by us. So, I hear what you're saying. If we're not so distracted, trying to pursue this or that, we'd probably be happier. But also,
the same thing happened in Paris, but they were little, the Parisians basically dumped manure on city house steps, on courthouse steps. That's what they were protesting, but the farmers, they just pumping the stuff out. It was awesome.
Derek, what was the opening question again? Because I wanted to answer it. I already know what the answer is, but I wanted to repeat that question.
I think
how do you know you're aging?
I didn't write this down. So I think
it was just like something like, how do you know you're old or something like that?
Oh, do you ever have those moments where you're like, you're getting older when?
Yes. Well, I'll tell you when that happened for me, because of this beautiful head of gray hair, I wasn't even 50 yet. And I was getting discount at Dunkin' Donuts without asking. I looked at my receipt because I was like, oh, wow, this is cheaper. I said, oh, senior discount? Wait a minute. Okay, I'll take it.
I haven't done it, but I keep hearing the rumors that AARP is worth it. The discounts are worth it.
I mean, it is just too funny. Even now, sometimes when I go in and they're like, "Oh, I'll give you the senior discount," I'm like, because I don't ask for it, I'm like, okay.
Why not? You live long enough to earn it. Why?
Right on.
All right. Well, Christine, we really want to thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your insights and your stories. Hopefully this inspires some people who are thinking about their aging to think about how they can age more gracefully. And for those who already are aging gracefully, hopefully they'll enjoy it even more.
Great. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you again. For those of you who are watching, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you next time on Things They Don't Teach Us. Take care.